Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Idle Hands. I'm back with a new video, but before I get into the discussion, I just want to let everyone know that we finally hit 1,000 subscribers. It's a pretty big milestone for me. When I first started doing these videos on YouTube, I was just doing them because I wanted to share the videos with my friends. So now we do have about 1,000 subscribers, and still counting. So thanks everyone for the support. I really appreciate all of the comments, the suggestions, and also the requests that you've been putting up. I know I haven't really gotten the chance to go back to all of them. It does take some time to make these presentations, and also the background research also takes a little bit of time. So my apologies for that. Yeah, but today we're back with a video or a discussion that has been asked several times before. This is basically Evasion 101, or understanding the fundamentals of hit and flee. So, with the current state of PvP in the game, a lot of people are really now realizing how important hit actually is. That's mainly because sometimes they really pack a punch, right? I mean, their skills, their damage really packs a punch. But if it's not hitting anyone, then it's basically useless, right? So, so we'll take some time to discuss how it works in this video, and hopefully give you an insight on how you can, build your character in such a way that you'd be able to fully take advantage of your damage. Okay, before we start, just the usual reminders. I am not a professional developer. I am not a programmer. I do not work for XD. I'm not affiliated with anyone who works for XD. And whatever I'll be talking about today will be solely based on my understanding of the in-game codes and actual game experience. Okay, now that we've got it out of the way, let's go straight into the discussion. So, a couple of it's a years back, okay, when you were first starting, when we started playing Ragnarok online. Um, we didn't really pay attention to hit. Mainly because, I mean, I was a knight back then, and every time I'd go into PvP, I would use bash. And back then, my bash would almost always never miss, very rarely. So I didn't pay much attention to hit. Also, when I was dealing with, when I was doing PvE runs, I also didn't have problems with hit. So I didn't really pay much attention to it, and I guess a lot of people are the same. But once we've stepped into more of these competitive PvP, such as Guild Wars and internal tournaments, 6v6, 12v12, we suddenly realized how important hit actually is, right? That's because there's a lot of people who have very high flee, especially the Phantom Dancers and the Soul Blades. Um, they really they really have taken full advantage of flee. So they're really very difficult to deal with. I mean, you can't kill what you can't hit, right? Anyways, so in order for us to understand this, it's important that we first define what hit is and what flee is, how it's computed, how it's derived. So let's first go to flee. Flee is basically your character's capability or chance to evade an incoming physical attack. Okay, this we're talking about physical attack because magic attacks don't miss unless the person you're targeting has certain types of equipments or cards, such as Spashir Star. Okay, so those are some of those gears or cards that provides magic flee. But basically, hit and flee actually generally just works for physical attacks. So the way it's computed is you get your flee from agi first, and that is your base level plus your agility. Okay, so here this is not rounded down, so every point counts and it gets added on top of your base level. So it's important that you actually raise your base level. I know a lot of people who are still not at max level right now. Yeah, maybe it hardly makes a difference. Maybe it's like 5 or 10 points of flee. But when you're into competitive space, every point counts. So make sure you max out your level. Um, Next part is you get your actual flee, which is your flee from agi plus flee from other sources multiplied by 1 plus flee percentage. Flee percentage, this is improved dodge, and some other cards that you have that provides flee evasion percent or flee percent. But yeah, improved dodge is basically in this container. Pretty simple, right? Now let's talk about hit. Hit is your character's capability to accurately or to successfully land a physical attack. Okay, and the way it's computed is you first get your hit from dex, which is base level plus dexterity. Um, then you get your actual hit, which is, your hit from dex plus hit from other sources multiplied by 1 plus hit percent. Okay, we're not going to go into much details on what provides this hit percent. I can probably do a check later and maybe share it in Discord, but yeah, I don't want to drag this video for too long. So basically, those are how these two things are computed. Now that we know how they are computed, let's jump straight into um, figuring out how they both work. Okay, so now let's jump into how they actually work. So you basically have your actual hit or the attacker's hit and the defender's flee, right? Before you actually merge them or before you compute them, you also have to take into consideration the skill hit modifier. Now, we're going to talk about that later, but this is another multiplier to hit, okay? And then you put them together to derive the hit chance, and then the game will then compute based on the hit chance whether your attack will hit or miss. Okay, let's talk about skill hit modifier. Now, if you look here below, I think um, this is a knight skill. Okay, I think this is bash. Haven't really. I forgot which skill this is, but so basically this is a knight skill. And if you look at the parameters here, there's one thing for skill hit. Skill hit equals zero point 0.5. What this tells you is, yeah, this is bash. I've noted it down. What it tells you is that whenever you use bash, you actually get a bonus 50% on your actual hit. Okay, so if your hit is 500, you use bash, your final hit becomes 750. Okay, take note, skill hit is not available on every skill. Some skills don't have it. There are skills that have 30%, there are skills that has 10%. Bash has 50%. Hellplant has 100%, which means it doubles the genetics hit. So so keep this in mind, right? Because this comes into play when you're calculating for the hit chance. So various skills have these skill hit modifiers. They may or may not scale per level. Okay, so it really depends. So if there's a specific skill that you'd like to check, you can PM me in Discord and I'll gladly look it up for you and tell you whether it has skill hit or not. So make sure you learn if your primary skill has skill hit. Um, say for example, if you're using Magic Dragon Breath for Rune Masters, right? So we do know that the advanced runes has a skill hit bonus for Dragon Breath and Water Dragon Breath. So people really try to get a high percentage in that aspect, in that particular line. But when you go into Magic Dragon Breath, that line is actually ignored. It's not included there. But Magic Dragon Breath has a skill hit of 30%. So it's kind of like telling you to not mind that particular line if you're using Magic Dragon Breath. It's just going to give you the maximum value as a bonus. So make sure you learn all that because you don't want to over invest in hit. Okay, if you have 100%, I mean, if your chance to hit an enemy is already at 100% and you go beyond that, it basically does nothing. Okay, it doesn't increase your chance. I mean, if you're at 100% hit rate or hit chance, then that's it. There's, there's basically nothing to gain from going beyond that. But we all know that, every character in PvP has a different amount of flee. So you never really know how much you need. So all you can do is just really take a feel. Try to ask people how much fleet they have. Try to look at, when people share videos or, when you look at builds out there, or maybe if there's just this one person you're having a 1v1 with, try to know what their fleet is, right? So that you don't overinvest in it. I can tell you, I've known people who have about 1,000 or maybe 1,100 in terms of fleet. So you're gonna need a really high hit to be able to hit them. Okay, so now that we know what the skill hit modifier is, um, now we try to compute the hit chance, okay, or what the actual rate is. So the rate is hit plus 80. Okay, that's a static value. Don't ask me why it's 80. I don't know. It's just there. Okay, so it's hit plus 80 multiplied by 1 plus skill hit minus flee, the defender's flee. Okay, so what this basically tells you is this in the box below, and we're gonna get there. Okay, so it basically gets the result of this and it clamps it between 5 and 100. So what this tells you is the lowest chance to hit is 5%. It doesn't matter how big the gap is between your hit and your enemy's flee. You'll always have a minimum you'll always have a minimum of 5% chance to hit them. Okay? Um, if the difference of your hit and the enemy's flee is within 80, then you will likely hit them. Okay, so this is always the formula. So if you run your respective values through this formula, the actual result or whatever numerical result you get will be your chance to hit your target. If, for example, they have, hypothetically speaking, they have 1,000 flee, right? Let's just say they have 1,000 flee. Um, and then you have about 500 hit. You have zero skill hit, right? 500 plus 80 is 580 minus 1,000 flee, that's negative 420. So taking this into consideration, your chance hit is just 5%. Okay, now also keep in mind there are some status ailments which will make the, the chance to hit to 100%, regardless of hit and regardless of flee. So those are stun, sleep, petrify, and freeze. So these will basically make the next attack hit. So that's one of the reasons why it's very deadly if you get stunned, especially in GVG, because everything just hits you. You're static there. I mean, you can't move, and all of the attacks just basically hits you. Sleep, it's all right. I mean, generally sleep breaks when you get hit. Same with Petrify and Freeze, unless they have certain gears or they have certain cards that will prevent these status from being broken. But yeah, I mean, that's basically it. So that's how you compute for it. It's fairly simple. As a rule of thumb, as a rule of thumb, first step is try to find out whether the skill you're using has skill hit. If it doesn't have skill hit, then make sure your hit, okay, your hit plus 80 minus the enemy's flee is equals to 100. Okay, so hit plus 80 minus the enemy's flee should be 100. That way you have a 100% chance in hitting them, which I know is a little bit difficult um, because some of these Soul Blades and Phantom Dancers just have insanely high amounts of flee. Okay, well, I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you'll be able to use this to improve your builds. And also want to thank everyone who are still watching, um, for supporting this channel. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for the likes. Thanks for the shares. Um, I hope you continue letting me know what you think about in the comment section because I'm actually basing my next video based on those comments. So I know I haven't done a video on dev, MDev, on maybe other jobs as well, but I'll probably get to them. I mean, if you know what I mean, there's a dozen of things in Ragnarok that can be discussed. Um, and we'll probably never be able to discuss everything. but we're trying to do it one by one. And I hope you'd be patient enough to stay with us as we go through these topics one by one. So again, thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you in our next video.